Hello, I'm Kelly Palacios, and my micro teach is going to be on Women's Strike for Equality in 1970. On August 26, 1970, women all over the country went on strike to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the 19th Amendment's ratification. Women at this time still did not have all the same rights as men, nor were they treated equally to men, such as with a fair wage. Even though there had been regulations and laws put into effect in 1963 for equal pay, women still found it difficult to get into higher education programs such as medical and law school, where only 5 to 10% of women were accepted. The 19th Amendment gave every U.S. citizen the right to vote regardless of their sex. Before the 19th Amendment, it was a state's decision on who was able to vote, and many states did often prevent women from voting. The women's suffrage movement fought both at the national and state levels to gain the right to vote. In 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified, having received the required number of state votes for its approval. Tennessee was the final vote in favor of the 19th Amendment. The strike was organized and sponsored by the National Organization for Women, better known as NOW. NOW was founded in 1966 and still to this day is one of the largest feminist organizations in the U.S., having throughout the U.S. hundreds of chapters and memberships topping hundreds of thousands. It was founded by Betty Friedan, Robin Polly Murray, and Shirley Chisholm. All three of these women had had a large impact on feminism and the women's movement before and after starting the organization of NOW. At her farewell speech, Betty Friedan, the then president of NOW, called for women all over the nation to go on strike. You may remember that Betty Friedan was the author of The Ben Mistake. She had been receiving letters from Betty Armistead encouraging this nationwide strike. The strike was the largest strike for women up to this date. New York City, being the primary point for the strike, had 50,000 people involved, while the rest of the nation had more than 100,000. The banner cry for the strike was "Don't iron while the strike is hot." As the people marched down the street, you could see both large and small banners up and down the crowds. But this most popular banner was making it clear the strike came first. The strike was not only to celebrate the 19th Amendment, but it was to fight for equal opportunity in jobs, wages, and education, political rights for women, social equality in relationships, and also, depending on the person who was marching, the chapter of the NOW organizing that particular march, and the community they were marching in, they might have also been fighting for children care centers and the repeal of abortion laws. As these were controversial subjects even for women's movement, not all involved agreed with these last two. Betty had not let anyone else in the organization know she was going to call for the strike. Some were quite a bit surprised, but all eventually got on board and started to plan. Both Betty's call for the strike and the strike itself were covered by many news and media outlets. And as with the original suffrage movement, there was some very negative comments and coverage about it. Betty Friedan was called a militant leader by a New York Times author in an article that ran March 21st, 1970. But also, as with the original suffrage movement, everyone involved knew this was something that needed to be done, both as a celebration for how far women's rights had come and for a cry for more change.